Around this time 20 years ago, I had the pleasure of listening to an articulate man speak in exactly the very same words. His name is Robert Mugabe. I would like to know how you expect to move on from where you are now in such a way that you do not end up creating the very same African story like the one that we are seeing in Zimbabwe.
There's nothing wrong with Robert Mugabe's policy of land. There's everything wrong with the method used to attain the land. President Mugabe had more than 25 years to pass legislation through democratic means that will systematically take the land back into the rightful owners. He didn't do anything about it.
The gentleman about 3 rows back on the left-hand side.
Around this time 20 years ago, I had the pleasure of listening to an articulate man speak in exactly the very same words. It's absolutely striking. His name is Robert Mugabe. And as you mentioned in your speech, you said you would like to take some lessons from what the mistakes other African countries made. Now, history has always repeated itself. For a revolutionary like you, if you get into power, somehow, some way, South African diamonds are going to become blood diamonds. The markets are going to be closed to South Africa. The state apparatus, so your media and so on, are going to be financed by the very same institutions that are alienated by the message that you are speaking. So I would like to know how you expect to move on from where you are now in such a way that you do not end up creating the very same African story like the one that we are seeing in Zimbabwe, like the one that we have seen in Malawi, in Zambia, like the one that we have seen, indeed, in almost every other part of Africa.
Well, we are not going to do what the Zimbabweans have done, of dropping blood of innocent people. There's nothing wrong with Robert Mugabe's policy of land. There's everything wrong with the method used to attain the land. We cannot have people killed. We cannot have people injured because you want your land back. President Mugabe had more than 25 years to pass legislation through democratic means that will systematically take the land back into the rightful owners. He didn't do anything about it. He only introduced that policy at a time when he was losing power. It was opportunistic. It was not a real program that he believed in. Now, you ought to pass legislation through democratic means, parliament, in line with your constitution, which will take land back into the hands of the people. Already in South Africa, there are top judges who are saying, but what Malema says is already there. It is not put into test. Some are arguing that our legislature allows expropriation of land for as long as it is in the public interest and public purpose. But you've got a cowardized government which is not ready to expropriate land. Actually, some of the municipalities do expropriate land if they've got a clear program of using that land to benefit the public. Now, the market will not turn against people who want to own their land. If there are such markets, then there are undemocratic markets. We have to go and look for democratic markets which will appreciate rightful people owning their land. And the interesting thing with the world balance of forces is that there is now an indication of emerging progressive markets in the world. We now have the establishment of BRICS, of developing countries coming together to share a perspective. And we have a lot of markets today who are more than ready to come in if anyone threatens withdrawal. Now let's talk the Zimbabwean situation. After imposing of sanctions in Zimbabwe, and the people of Zimbabwe remaining firm and not wanting to move on the land question, we have seen a situation now where people from the same countries that have said they are imposing sanctions on Zimbabwe, going to Zimbabwe underground to go and look for those resources. We command ourselves and Zimbabwe 80% of the world platinum. If they withdraw in Zimbabwe and they withdraw in South Africa, where else will they get platinum? The 20% remaining platinum is scattered all over. Don't think you're going to find 20% of it in one country. It's all over. We've got many resources in Africa. That's why I speak of African unity, where African countries must come together and say, if they withdraw because they do not want to trade with us on the basis of the policies we have put in place which stand to benefit African people, let us all hold our resources. Let it be done in a peaceful way. Change is painful. We're prepared to go through that pain so that we can give birth to a beautiful thing called sharing of Africa's wealth by African people. So we don't talk war. We don't talk blood diamond. We are going to institutions like this one. We are meeting captains of the industry to persuade them. As it were in South Africa, we are accused now that we are dining with imperialists. It's okay. We are persuading them that let the resources of Africa be shared with the people of Africa. I went to a rally of ZANU-PF in Zimbabwe, and I stood up to address them that there is no room for violence in the whole world today. And using violence to resolve political question is unacceptable. The whole rally was shocked because I subscribe to radical politics but not violence. I believe that through persuasion and exchanging of ideas and exposing the weaknesses of capitalist system in Africa, we will win what we are fighting for. If capitalism has worked here in the UK, let me tell you it has not worked in Africa. The system of capitalism is the one that produced poverty and unemployment in South Africa and the whole of Africa. There's never been any other system. Don't say socialism has failed in South Africa. It was never there. It has never been there. It has never been applied anywhere. If it failed in Soviet Union, not in Africa. Don't confuse Soviet Union with Africa. So it must be, the whole blame must be put on the door of capitalism. The diseases you see, underdevelopment you see, the unemployment, the inequalities, joblessness, is as a result of a capitalist system in Africa. It didn't work for us. It worked for you. You are very fortunate. We have been the unfortunate people who have been a subject of exploitation by a capitalist system. So, throughout, we are persuading people through dialogue and robust engagement and open and honest engagement. But dropping of blood is not what is on our table. At least for now. I don't know what will happen in future. But at least for now, there is no discussion about armed struggle. There is no discussion about killing anyone for the resources of Africa. We believe we can win them over through the power of persuasion.
There you have it, guys. Julius Malema is usually full of these revolutionary speeches. Sometimes you wonder where he gets them from. But whatever the case is, we really hope that his wisdom transcends, and really contributes to the development of Africa and in helping solving Africa's really myriad of challenges. But what do you guys think about his speech? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please share and like and subscribe, because that's the way you support Kwazemi as a channel, an Afrocentric channel, where we try to understand deeper issues in African history and hopefully develop a collective intelligence on how we wish to build the Africa we want to see as people of Africa. See you in the next one.